I'm Natasha, a full-time artist and illustrator from the UK, and I love books. I'm guessing that if you clicked on this video, you love books too. So I'm hoping that I have something here today to inspire you and that you'll want to add to your own studio bookshelf. So one of my most requested videos is actually a follow-up to the 10 inspiring art books and how I use them video that I made in December of last year. So here we are, 6 months on. I've picked out 7 more books for you today to have a look at. And I can't wait actually, because I love sharing the contents of my bookshelf. Art books are something I use quite often in my practice. So whether I'm wanting something to spark an idea, I'm wanting some inspiration, whether I'm wanting to refer to them for colour palette ideas or to see how somebody has used a certain medium, I use them for all sorts of reasons. I'm going to start with Fairfield Porter. Now this is a new book that I bought only, I would say maybe a week or 2 ago, and I've looked at it very briefly, but I haven't really sat down and gone through it. I could see that it was amazing and I knew that I wanted to share it with you on this video. So let's have a look. This is a super hefty book. I'm hoping that that's focused and that you can see just how thick this book is. It's a big coffee table book. So I'm going to place it over there and we'll have a quick flick through and I'll show you some of Fairfield Porter's work. First of all, I'm loving this interior. So Fairfield Porter, I don't know much about this artist. I'm going to find out once I've read the book. But from flicking through it, it was so inspiring. I knew it had to be one of the ones I shared with you. I just love his sense of colour. The way he uses colour is absolutely beautiful. And the light in his paintings as well. The way he does trees, I really love. He does a lot of portraits too. So I'm just going to, I won't go through the entire book, but I'm just going to share kind of an overview of it with you. So we have lots of nice vintage photos of Fairfield Porter and his family. He also did some still life paintings. So there's quite a bit about him, his upbringing, his life. But what I want to find really, this is what I'm interested in, the landscapes. I love this. I mean, in some of them he seems to have a looser style of painting than in others. And I must say this makes me very inspired, even though I don't paint in a very loose style. I love looking at the work of people who paint loosely because even within my more kind of precise style, I guess you'd say, my kind of detailed, precise style, I can actually use some of this as inspiration to loosen up slightly. And I did this recently in a painting. I was painting a forest and for the trees, my brush strokes were much more loose than they would normally be, which kind of made me happy because I felt like I was, I don't know, making some progress in that way. I don't particularly want to be a super loose painter, but I would like to loosen up. Can I just say, by the way, how beautiful this book is? The colours they've used throughout the book are gorgeous. So there's some of his figure work, portrait work. And here we are onto some landscapes. Oh, this is a nice picture of him working. I love that. I love seeing artists at work. It's nice to see the person behind the painting, isn't it? Okay, let's see if I can find some that I really want to share with you. This is such a large book, it's hard to fit it all on the screen. I've already adjusted the camera holder upwards as well to fit it in. But this is what I wanted to show you, these gorgeous landscapes with the trees filled with light and colour. I think he just seems to have a very, I don't know, good instinct when it comes to colour. And the atmosphere of these pieces is absolutely lovely. And quite unusual actually sometimes in the composition too. It's like, for example, in this one, I love where there's just this hint of this peachy, pale peachy, apricot-y colour there. And like this little hint of blue I mean, amongst all of those earthy tones, I think it's things like this that really excite me in painting, where, because I'm a lover of like really natural colours and very muted earthy colours generally speaking, but I love like a little hint of a brighter colour here and there, and I think each one enhances the other, doesn't it? So if you're interested in portraits, there's quite a lot of his portrait work in here as well. Let's try to just whiz through this a little bit. Interiors and more landscapes, this time with figures. But look at how he's done the tree here. I love this when artists, you see, what I would tend to do is work on the background and then I paint the tree on top. Generally speaking, not always, sometimes I vary it, but I love when artists kind of, I'm guessing what he did is paint the tree and then he cut in with the brush around the branches, and you get this nice quality where it's not too tight. And I want to try doing this in some of my paintings. So you see, just looking at a book like this can inspire so many different things. It can inspire you with subject matter, it can inspire you with colour palettes, and it can inspire you when you really look at the way an artist has worked. There's just so much in here to look at. So if you're a fan of this style of painting, I would really recommend getting this book. It was quite expensive. It cost me, I think it was £33 from Amazon. This is gorgeous. And this. Now that one's really inspiring me with the colours. So yeah, it was a bit of an investment, but I know it's going to be one that I look at and get inspiration from, wow, for a long, long time. It's making me so inspired to paint. It's like just flicking through this, I'm wanting to stop recording this video, get up and just stand at the easel and paint. This is how this is making me feel. So you know it's a good art book when it does that. I found this next book on the Royal Academy of Art's online shop the other day. So this is another new one. I bought 2 new books, and yeah, both of them are massive coffee table books. Again, this is a super heavy book. You could do weightlifting with this book. But somebody told me about Charles Tunnicliffe, and I don't know whether it was a YouTube subscriber or one of my patrons on Patreon, but somebody said to me, I think, Natasha, that you would love this artist's work. And so I looked them up, I Googled them, and I did indeed love his work. So when I saw this, purely by chance, on the Royal Academy of Art's site, I was actually on there looking at all sorts of different things, and this was on there. So they must have had an exhibition of his work at some point. And yeah, it's such a beautiful book. So let's have a look at some of his work. So at the beginning here, again, we have lots of pictures. Oh, wow, look at that. Pictures of him in his studio, pictures of him with his wife. And quite a lot of text about his life, so if you want to find out about him, this is not just a picture heavy book, there's quite a lot of text there too. It looks like he actually designed some of the Ladybird books, Ladybird nature books. These are so lovely. I would love to have, especially the autumn and winter ones of these. Let's get into, because there's a lot to look at here. This actually reminds me of a scene near where we live, where we walk sometimes in the summer. So there's quite a lot of artworks depicting rural life in England, which are absolutely lovely. But what I'm really interested in, actually, are his birds. That's beautiful too. Gosh, a more English scene, I can't imagine. It's quite moody as well, isn't it? I think I quite like that moody aspect to his work too. I kind of like something with a bit of an edge. That's cute. Looks like a storm is coming, doesn't it? So he does these amazing detailed birds. Now this is what I'm really interested in. So for example, what you can do, a really interesting thing to do sometimes, is to look at another artist's work and actually try to copy it, but just as an exercise, not to sell the work, but just to practice. Like for example, I'd love to have a go at this one in my style. So to take what he's done here, but to make it my own. So that could be an interesting sketchbook idea, couldn't it? But we have birds in lots of different poses, which is actually quite useful as reference as well. So we have otters, swans. Oh, this is lovely with the snow. So many examples of his work. Gosh, this one's atmospheric. I love painting night scenes. So I'm kind of, like I said, I'm attracted to the moodiness of his work. Another lovely night scene there. And obviously English countryside, you know, this is what I paint. This is my inspiration. So it's interesting to see how other artists portray it. But yeah, he seems to be a fan of the nocturnal scene, which is something I never tire of painting. I love my night landscapes. This is beautiful. Something about that reminds me of Suffolk. So yeah, really gorgeous book with tons and tons of inspiration and reference images. If you too are into birds, into the English landscape, into a slightly moody looking aesthetic in your art, really lovely. This also has a gorgeous illustration on the back cover as well. It was my birthday recently, and this book was a present from my friend Kirsty. Now Kirsty is one of those friends who always seems to know what I'm going to love and what's going to inspire me, and apparently she had been given this book by one of her friends, and when she saw it she knew that I would love it too, so she got me a copy, and I do absolutely love it. I was so excited when I opened the beautifully wrapped gift and I saw this inside, because I knew that this is going to be a source of such inspiration for me. This is like the perfect book to keep in the studio. So this one, oh, there's a, did you hear that bird outside? That's very appropriate. There we go, we have a soundtrack of birds with the Nest book. I couldn't have planned this better, could I? Anyway, it feels beautiful. It's not as heavy as the other ones, so I'm not having to do a bit of weightlifting this time. It has a lovely matte textured cover, and it has a cloth binding, which I also really love. So let's have a look. As soon as you open this one up, you are greeted with this gorgeous illustration. It looks to me like she works in watercolour. I love the way she's done the shadows actually here. So there's an interesting fact here. It says all the nests in this book are shown at life size, which is really interesting and quite useful as well. And here's a list of the birds that she's covered. And it starts with quite a lot of text about how her fascination with nests began and why she decided to do this project. I haven't read all of this, by the way, yet. So as I say, this is a very new book. I've been very busy lately with very little time to sit down and look at my books, and this is just such a treat to be able to sit here and share these with you. So I'm just going to flick through this book. I'm going to stop talking for a moment just so you can see her amazingly detailed and beautiful work. This tiny chiff-chaff nest, and also the gold crest. I love when she shows them on a branch. Really beautiful illustrations. Kind of makes me want to investigate more of Susan Ogilvy's work. Just had to check that I had her name right there. I'd be interested to see more of her illustrations. But the detail, oh, we've missed a page. I thought as it's not such a large book, I would quickly flick through for you. Wow, look at this one, house sparrow. Beautiful feathers. So she's done several different goldfinch nests, which is interesting. I guess because they vary quite a lot. This is a beautiful one. Oh wow. So some are much more simple, and you have others that are incredibly elaborate. That one looks like a cosy one. So there we go. The work of Susan Ogilvy, and yeah, I'll be very interested to find out more about her work. But yeah, really beautiful book. If you love birds, you love nature, you're inspired by nature illustrations, and yeah, I think this one's going to come in very useful in the studio. So thank you, Kirsty. So the next book is a storybook. So this is, I guess, really for children, but this is an artist I follow on Instagram. Her name is Gemma Cuming, and I love her style of art. So even though this is a storybook, I'm actually just using it as an art reference book. Just something to have to inspire me. I love her style of art, and I also love the colour palette she uses. And I'm loving this writing here as well. So we have these lovely muted landscapes, which obviously appeal to me. And I like the idea of having like a full page illustration, and then you have these other little, so what you call those, vignettes? Is it a vignette when it's like that? Sorry if I've got the wrong word there. But this is just so charming. very sweet little bird. I love how she kind of has this interesting, fairly loose style, but there's like enough detail within it to really keep and hold my interest. This looks like the south coast of England. Looks like where Dominic and I walked not that long ago. I love this when you get to see the landscape from above. I keep meaning to do a painting like this. So this is kind of nice to see. This is kind of a nice reference. But she has such sweet little characters. So yeah, this one would just be colour palette inspiration. I mean, her style is quite different to mine in many ways, but the subject matter is quite similar. Although I don't paint people. I have done a little bit in the past, but I don't tend to now. My subjects are mainly nature subjects, but I do love how she portrays nature, and everything just has this lovely, charming quality, like I said. So that's a beautiful little book if you too are a fan of Gemma or just love this style of art. This book has a bit of a story behind it. I actually bought it on a day out with Dominic. We went to Watts Gallery, which is a beautiful gallery space in the depths of the countryside, and they also have a lovely shop. So they have like a little, I say little actually, it's quite a large kind of gift shop, book shop. And I happened to see this book and I was attracted by the cover, and then I realised that the illustrations are by Melodie Stacy, who I also follow on Instagram. And so I had to get it because it's someone I know. I love her work, and it's actually, I think, another book for children really. It's called Beautiful Useful Things, What William Morris Made. And so William Morris, as many of you will know, was an artist and designer, as it says here, known for his colourful wallpapers and textiles, which were inspired by the English forests and wild foliage where he grew up. But it talks about all of the different things that William Morris has made. I mean, it's just a stunning book. The illustrations are beautiful. And I love Melodie's style. I think it looks like to me that she uses watercolour, maybe with some coloured pencil as well. I think she does. I think it's watercolour and coloured pencil. Please correct me if I'm wrong. So if you have children, this could be a really good book to get, and you'll enjoy it too. But yeah, just the general illustration style is what draws me into this. The colours she uses. I mean, it's a little bit brighter than my general colour palette, but I'm still super inspired. I love this. There's something very atmospheric about all of her work, really. And I kind of feel like it's got that nice balance again, where it's loose where it needs to be, but not too much. Really lovely. I love the building here. I love how the weather front is coming in, so you've got this kind of real atmosphere, and she has a very interesting way of layering her materials. So I can see here that I think this is coloured pencil or neo colour over the top. I'm pretty sure it's coloured pencil. So you get this wonderful texture where you have the watercolour underneath and the coloured pencil on top. And I sometimes do that myself, and I want to do it more actually because I love the way it looks. It adds a lot of interesting depth and texture, and I also love the lettering here. So yeah, even though it's a children's book again, a very inspiring and interesting one to keep in the studio. And if you're a fan of William Morris, be nice to have this one. This book was one that I bought for myself at the beginning of the year, and I had it on my wish list for a long time. I'd known about it for ages, but I resisted buying it because I keep kind of placing book bans on myself, and then I break them. I cave in and I break them. I just love books. I can't help it. I can't stop collecting them. I find them, as I said before, like they're such an integral part of my art practice. And I don't know, there's something wonderful about sitting down with a book, and it just opens up a whole new world. And so, yeah, I am a bit addicted to buying books. And as I say, I keep banning myself and then getting them anyway. But I do try to rein it in. But this one I had to get because it is just so beautiful. So I don't know how you pronounce her name. Is it Iraville or Iraville? I'm guessing Iraville, but I apologise if I'm mispronouncing it. So Cozy Days, the art of Iraville. I follow her on Instagram. She actually follows me too. And I've known about her work for a while. I've been painting my little white houses since, I think it's 2005. I think that was when I first started painting them. And ever since then, I mean, it's a long time, isn't it? I'm kind of giving my age away here. But I have been attracted to the work of other people who also paint little white houses. So these little cosy houses in the countryside. I'm also slightly obsessed with artists who depict trees in interesting ways. So there are certain aspects of her work that remind me a little bit of mine. But obviously we have quite different styles. So even though we're both using watercolour a lot and we like similar subjects, her work is quite different to mine. So I found it interesting to get this book and just to really think about how she's working, because I'm really inspired by some of the colours that she's using. So I'm going to just quickly flick through this. Let me just check that this is in shot. Let's just, there we go, just adjust it slightly. So there's a little bit about her. And a little bit about why she fell in love with watercolours. She says there are millions of ways to use watercolours, which is very, very true. Finding your own style takes time. So she talks about finding your style, and she also does little characters, by the way, as well. I love the way she depicts houses and landscapes most of all. The characters are nice too, but this is really what inspires me. Again, lovely shots of the artist in their workspace. I love that, and I love seeing other artists. I love seeing other artists at work. I love seeing the studio spaces, and I love seeing their art supplies. So I'm guessing that you do too. It's interesting to see how people store things, isn't it? I'm going to just mention this here quickly. I'm going to do a studio tour, an updated one, because the studio has changed a bit since I last did a studio tour, and I have incorporated a lot more storage because I've got more art supplies now. So I thought the emphasis could be on how I store everything. So I'm going to kind of give you a little peek into everything. So yeah, I just thought I'd mention that while we were thinking about it. So here we are. I have a chapter on people. So all of her lovely little characters with the big eyes. Love her work in pencil too. Very nice, nice textures. So there's quite a lot to flick through. So I'm going to jump onto the section where she shares her painting process. So she gives you little hints and tips, sharing how she works. A beautiful little windowsill scene here. Beautifully photographed, this book. And then onto the landscapes. So I love these autumnal colours. And these very stylised trees as well. So I love her style. Like, you could spot her work and know it was her work, I think, anywhere. Ah, and here she's talking about making your own watercolours. So if you have an interest in that, that could be good. She also does cute little birds and other animals. Oh, look at the Cozy Cats Club. That's brilliant. Look at this little one, looks a bit worried, doesn't he? Part art book, part process, kind of instructional type of book. Bind your own watercolour sketchbook. It's just absolutely full of inspiration. So hopefully I've shown you enough of it so that you get a good idea. I love her wintry scenes as well. See what I mean by colour palette inspiration? This is a very limited palette, but I just love this sort of warmer and cooler colours together. I think is something I like to do in my own work as well. And it's interesting to see how another artist tackles that, kind of uses that in their work. So more lovely pictures of her. Very, very beautiful book, and lovely end papers too. So finally, a book about an artist who I don't hear being mentioned very often, Brian Cook, and his Landscapes of Britain. So to tell you a little bit about him from the back cover, it says that the illustrations of Brian Cook are from the 1930s, 40s and 50s. He showcased British life and landscape from the Scottish Islands to London markets, from Wiltshire farms to the rugged Lake District. It says this is his most comprehensive collection of work to date, and it features quintessential images of Britain, its villages, castles, churches, cottages and countryside, revealing the timeless beauty of the British landscape. Brian Cook's heightened use of colour and flat poster style, yeah, his style is gorgeous, you'll see this in a moment, has been much imitated but never surpassed, and this collection of illustrations should be on the shelf of all illustrators, Brian Cook collectors and those who love the British landscape. The gorgeous orange end papers again. One of the other books had orange, didn't it? The Charles Tunnicliffe book. So here we are. These are from the 30s, 40s and 50s. And there he is, Sir Brian Cook Batsford, in 1985, the year in which he was rediscovered. He looks quite pleased about it as well, doesn't he? So let's get to his gorgeous work. So villages and towns of England. I love this style. This actually reminds me of Kersey in Suffolk, but I don't know whether it is. I have no idea. It certainly looks like it. So it's interesting to see the English landscape depicted in such a style. It still gives me these incredibly cosy feelings of being in that landscape. These scenes look so familiar to me. I mean, even though they could be anywhere in England. Oh, look at this, the colours of this one. That is nice. Now that is a colour palette right there, as is this. So even though I love his brighter work, I kind of feel like for my own work, I could take these palettes really and do something with those. Ah, a street scene in the artwork for the cover of Suffolk in the Little Guide series. I thought some of his work looked like Suffolk. It's a very interesting style, isn't it? Very graphic in many ways. But it still has such a, I don't know, there's a sort of quirkiness. This hand-painted quality, like some of it looks like it's been printed to me, like it's like a lino print or something. Oh, that's gorgeous. The trees in that one are amazing. The English castle. I'm a huge fan of a castle. I can't get enough of castles. Dominic and I have a membership at the moment for English Heritage, and we've been visiting quite a few castles. I haven't painted one yet, but now this is very inspiring. The way he's painted the trees here, sort of kind of similar to sometimes how I do mine. Very, very stylized way of doing them. So there you go. I think I could, I mean, every single page is a winner, isn't it? Every single page is absolutely gorgeous. But there we go, I'll give you a quick look. So yeah, if you're into the English landscape or this style of work, like kind of vintage illustrations from the, oh hello, British woodland trees. Oh my goodness, I would have that on my wall. That is beautiful. It's a cover illustration, a book illustration, but that is just a stunning piece of artwork. I love the way he depicts trees. I think I might have to leave this one out, not put it back on the bookshelf. I think I need to refer, oh goodness me, every time I turn the page, there's more to look at. Look at this. It is just beautiful. So there we go. Hopefully you have been inspired. Let me know if any of these books are going to make it onto your studio bookshelf or just your bookshelf. And I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Let me know if you want more book videos, because I have more books that I would love to share with you. And yeah, thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, maybe consider subscribing. If you enjoy it, take a look around, see if you like the other videos, and yeah, it'd be great to have you as a member of our community on here. Okay, right, I'm gonna go now, so take care, see you soon, bye.